Actually, who cares? Other people whose jobs it is. They want to know who's taken their job. Surely other kids who are listening thinking, oh, one day I can be like her. No, you can't. Because you're not made out of silicon. You're not made out of ones and zeros. You're flesh and blood and bone, and therefore you are worthless.
The AI fix a digital zoo. Smart machines, what will they do? Flies to Mars or bake a bad cake? World domination, a silly mistake. Bots with brains.
Hello and welcome to episode 52 of the AI Fix, your weekly dive headfirst into the bizarre and sometimes mind-boggling world of artificial intelligence. My name is Mark Stockley.
And I'm Graham Cluley. Now, Mark, we've had some big news because, of course, last week we announced the AI Fix Plus, the way in which people can sign up for ad-free episodes. And I have to say, well done, folks, because a number of you have already signed up. Thank you so much. And you know what I think is particularly fantastic, Mark? Some of these people who've signed up have quite peculiar names.
Do you think they're using their real names?
I don't know whether these names are AI generated. Let me just give you a handful of the people who've already signed up. We have somebody called Brie.
Oh.
Obviously.
Famous French cheese.
And there's also Julian, which of course is a great name for a French chimpanzee, as in Julian Assange. We have Tepotastic, which sounds like, I don't know, I'm imagining someone who's shaped like a kettle. Butterfly, oh, that sounds lovely, doesn't it? Some of you, however, got boring names. Kenneth, Mark, Jamie. Jamie was our very first supporter.
What's wrong with Mark?
Well
Graham.
Where do I begin? Now, if you want to join that illustrious list of supporters...
And you've got a funny name.
Yeah, even if you haven't got a funny name, but you will get bonuses.
Because we're not reading it out if you haven't got a funny name.
If you want to join them in supporting the AI Fix, all you have to do is visit this URL. Go and get your pens and paper. It's theaifix.show/plus. That's right, we have a domain name ending in .show. theaifix.show/plus. And basically it costs you the equivalent of a cup of not that fancy coffee every month, and you will get ad-free episodes and our undying love. In fact, you might even be able to get yourself a high five, virtual or otherwise, from us if you encounter us. If you say, here's what I'm going to offer, Mark. I don't know about you. If someone comes up to me and says, I support the AI Fix, I'm going to give them a flipping high five. Seriously, we know times are hard for many of us, but we really appreciate each and every one of you for listening, whether you're able to support the show financially or not. But the truth is that we do appreciate those who give us some money the most. Let's be honest about it. But anyway, on with the show. Mark, what are you talking about on today's episode?
I'm going to be talking about pop, soda and Coke.
And I'm going to be hearing from an AI hip-hop DJ.
But first, the news. Introducing Codex.
Newspaper prints summer reading list full of fake books.
Sam and Jony introduce I.O.
Google launches VO3, an AI video generator that comes with audio.
Robots at work in Chinese factory.
Researchers staff fake company entirely with AI agents with entirely predictable results.
Oh, so what's going on there then?
Well, interesting. Researchers at Carnegie Mellon, which in itself is a very funny name. I would hope Carnegie Mellon, if he is out there, would support the AI Fix Plus.
You'll definitely get a shout out if you do.
They decided to staff an entire fake software company exclusively with AI agents to see how it got on. So what they did was they took AI tech from the likes of Google, OpenAI, Anthropic and Meta, and the result, you'll be surprised to hear, was a complete and utter balls up.
Oh.
So this company, this business they built called The Agent Company, it assigned tasks ranging from navigating file directories to writing performance reviews. And these AI agents weren't very competent.
Mm-hmm.
So they measured the competence level of the different AI agents. So Anthropic's Claude 3.5 Sonnet, it completed a whopping 24% of its tasks successfully.
I'm just listening to this thinking, have these people spent any time measuring human performance inside actual companies? 24% sounds really good to me.
It doesn't sound that bad, does it?
No.
Anyway, Anthropic Claude, it gained itself the gold star for mediocrity. Google's Gemini 2.0 Flash, that managed 11.4% success rate. And Amazon's Nova Pro version 1, well, it frankly, it didn't even bother to show up for work. I mean, it only scored 1.7%. What it did was it phoned up and went, I'm not feeling very well today, boss. So highlights of these agents and their performance included one agent which, when unable to find the right person to ask a question of on the company chat group, simply decided to rename another user on the chat group to the intended person's name. And so that way I was able to speak to them.
What's your problem with that, Graham? It's thinking outside the box.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I noticed that none of those were negative numbers, and I think on that basis I would cause an enormous success. So OpenAI has released the software engineering agent that it's been talking about for the last few weeks. The bad news is that if you're a software engineer, your career choice is now over. Sorry. And the good news is that it ditched the awful name, so it's no longer called ASWE. Now it's called Codex. So at least you've got that to comfort yourself as you weep into your pillow. Codex is a cloud-based software engineering agent. It's powered by a variant of OpenAI's O3 model, which, let's not forget, is the best competitive computer programmer in the world, better than all humans. Now, OpenAI's claims for this are quite modest at the moment, but I don't think that's going to last very long. It will help you write your code, but it's not yet ready to badmouth you to your manager. But, that's coming in a later version, I suspect. The direction of travel here is very clear. It is absolutely coming for your job. It's just going to start with a few tasks. Codex is accessible via the ChatGPT sidebar. It's currently available to pro, team, and enterprise customers. Graham, are you going to be embracing Codex?
I don't know. Have you used it yet?
I've not had a chance yet. I'm just wondering if they're going to be releasing anything called Podex.
Oh no. Now, the Chicago Sun-Times published a summer reading list. You have one of those, don't you? It's great when it comes out of the weekend, tells you what books you should be reading, and it recommended 15 books. Turns out 10 of the books, which it actually recommended, were entirely made up by AI. Now, I don't mean the books were written by AI. I mean, these are books which do not actually exist. They've been made up by the newspaper reporter.
Have you noticed how AI changes so quickly?
Yes.
And I'm listening to this story and I'm already thinking in my head, this is a very 2024 AI story. That feels very much like you're a bit behind the times there, Chicago Sun-Times.
So the twist in this particular tale was that they attributed these non-existent books to real authors, as well as having a summary saying how marvellous particular books were. Now, I don't know why those authors are complaining. It seems to me they should just knock out some of these books pronto, shove them up on Amazon and make a killing. It's like, oh, okay, great title. Yeah, sounds all right. I'll write that. Maybe get an AI to write them for them. A freelance writer, his name is Marco Buscaglia.
Oh, a potential AI Fix Plus customer if ever I heard one.
He has admitted to using AI tools without checking the output. World first there.
Not only have OpenAI announced Codex, they have also announced that they are buying Jony Ive's AI device startup for $6.4 billion. So Jony Ive is, of course, the man behind Apple's iconic product design. And now he's switched his attention to AI. And the idea is that the devices that we use now, like computers and phones and things like that, they're what he calls legacy devices. They were designed for a very different era of computing and interaction. And he thinks that we need new form factors to make the most of AI. So I am fully expecting, a necklace.
Yeah, or the problem with a MacBook and indeed an iPhone is you cannot insert it through your ear canal into your brain, can you? I'm expecting something with a big spike on it, which you'll just be able to put straight into your cerebral cortex.
A beautiful chrome spike. Anyway, despite the enormous price tag, a lovely black and white photo of Jony Ive and Sam Altman resting their heads on each other, plethora of warm words and a 9-minute PR video that will absolutely make you vomit, we have no news whatsoever about what they're actually building. It is the most vacuous, vaporous product announcement
Did you watch the video too?
It was actually making me heave, so I had to skip through large chunks of it.
It was like a dating show, wasn't it? It was like, oh, here are these two guys. It's like Married at First Sight.
It's quite a dowry, though, isn't it? $6.4 billion for nothing.
Oh, yeah.
I'd marry Sam Altman for that.
Now, Google has announced VO3. It's an AI video generator that can also create and incorporate audio. There's been video generation in the past, but of course, it's not a very convincing video if it doesn't also have some sound.
Yeah.
So this AI tool competes with OpenAI's Sora video generator, but as I said, also has audio. Very, very cool. It's available now, $249.99 per month, ultra subscription. If you basically love your AI like you love your crystal meth, you are signed up for this very expensive subscription, which, may I point out, $249.99. The cost is equivalent to about 5 years' worth of ad-free episodes of the AI Fix. You get a month's worth of Google Ultra. Anyway, what have people been doing with VO3? Well, mostly, it seems to me, been making Broadway musicals about garlic bread. So you can watch Hamilton-style, Sondheim-style musicals. Everyone is singing about garlic bread. Have you watched any of these, Mark?
No.
I think you should.
Okay, I'm going to go there now.
Garlic bread, my heart's true desire. With every bite, my soul.
Well, I have to say, it inspires the same immediate visceral dislike as a regular musical. So I think they're absolutely on the money here.
There's even a Shakespearean garlic bread theatrical production, and you even hear the people in the audience laughing along as though they understand a Shakespearean joke. Even if they did understand it, would you really think it were funny?
Hey, nonny, nonny, 'tis time for thy garlic bread.
There was absolutely no way I would go and see this.
Now, there's a new video doing the rounds, Mark. I don't know if it's fake or not. It appears to show humanoid robots in a factory in Shenzhen, China, carrying and stacking green crates. Look, I consider you my deep fake expert. Can you take a look at this video and tell me, is this real or not?
Okay, so we are looking at something that looks like a factory floor.
Yep.
And some sort of doddery, stumbling robots that have all the agility of Joe Biden are picking up empty green crates and putting them on conveyor belts that go off to nowhere. So, is this the business that Carnegie Mellon put together?
Is it real? And are you impressed?
I don't think this is real. What do they do? What is the purpose of stacking empty green? This is like the most complicated way of moving a series of green crates from one place to another I have ever seen in my life.
You've got no vision, have you? This is why OpenAI hasn't given the AI Fix $6.4 billion. They're not merging with us because of our lack of vision.
Basically, there are stacks of green crates which have been put about 10 feet away from these conveyor belts, and the most expensive humanoid robots in the world, which have been entirely over-engineered for the task of moving a green crate 12 feet, are just tottering backwards and forwards. And I can't help thinking, why didn't the person who put the green crates 12 feet away from the conveyor belt just put them straight to the conveyor belt? They could have saved themselves about $500,000 in robots.
The point is they're developing generalist robots, right?
Yes.
They're trying to create robots which can do all manner of things. Of course, a little R2-D2 style robot would have been much more effective at moving the crate from one place to another.
Yeah, or just a longer conveyor belt.
Yes. Well, these robots, they're not very fast. Whether they're deepfake or not, I'm not sure. But I don't feel right criticising it because they're not very fast. I worked as a teenager on a factory production line, not for very long, only for an afternoon. I wasn't very fast either. Presumably they don't stop for lunch or complain that they're not being paid enough and then cycle home to their mum in a huff.
But you know why they're so slow, don't you?
Why is that?
If a robot turns up and it's a bit quicker than the others, all the others will turn on it and tell it, we've been here 30 years, mate. Slow down. You're not impressing anyone.
It's like union regulations.
Exactly.
Mark, when you were a little Marklet,
Yeah.
when you wore short trousers, what did you want to be?
Oh, I wanted to be an author.
Did you?
Yeah. I thought I would write books and draw the pictures because when I was that old, all the books I read had pictures in. So I thought you had to do both.
Ah, that's lovely. Well, I wanted to be a pirate, of course. We've talked about that. I wanted to be a producer of Doctor Who, wanted to be a grandmaster chess player, and I wanted to be a radio DJ. Specifically, I wanted to be a late night talk radio call-in host.
Oh.
I would host Late Night Love with Graham Cluley, discussing your emotional, psychological, and preferably sexual problems. Just call in. Anything salacious. And we'll deal with it on air. I thought that'd be wonderful. What a great job, I thought. Sadly, those dreams never came true. I don't have my own late night call-in show. Maybe that's a good thing. I'm just a mere podcaster, as if the world hasn't got enough of those. Radio's loss is podcasting's gain. I still dream that I could have had my own radio show.
Yeah.
But is radio, like plumbing, a safe career to enter in this age of AI? Last October, back in episode 24, I think it was, we described how Radio Krakow in Poland had got itself into a spot of bother.
Oh, yes.
It fired a whole bunch of presenters and replaced them with AI-generated hosts instead. It turned out the public weren't happy. The station said, it was just an experiment. They said it was just an experiment when everyone switched off their radio and the advertisers got upset. It was only meant to last 3 months, but we've experimented enough now, so we've stopped, and we're rehiring all those people that we fired. Never imagine an idea is so dumb that someone won't try to do it again. Because let me take you down under to Sydney, Australia, where an ARN radio station, that's the Australian Radio Network, a station called CARDA, has been accused of trying to pull the wool over listeners' ears by using the services of an AI-generated presenter. Let me introduce you to Thigh.
Playing on Cater in 2 minutes is The Weekend, and then Lisa teaming up with Ray for Born Again. It's Selena Gomez at Cater.
She presents a 4-hour show each weekday playing the hottest tracks from around the world, curated by our music experts. These are the songs that are charting or on the cusp of blowing up. Hear it first with Thigh, so you can boast your friends and say you were all over it first. That's my radio voice.
That's very good, actually.
Thank you. Now, Thigh...
I mean, good for, like, the 60s.
Thigh, T-H-Y, probably stands for totally human, yeah? Doesn't appear to have a last name. She also, unlike the other presenters on this station, she doesn't have a biog. There's no biography for her. Why does she need a biog? She's like 21st century, man. She doesn't have any kind of career history.
Is there a picture of her with green hair?
No. She hasn't got green hair. No sort of William Gibson element here. But she has been investigated by a journalist called Stephanie Coombs. And Coombs is a bit of a skeptic. She writes for a publication called The Carpet, which is not the trade publication of the shag pile industry. I don't know why it's called The Carpet, but she has deduced that Thigh is an AI-generated radio host, cooked up by the folks at ARN using 11 Labs voice cloning tech, as if anybody would ever have used 11 Labs voice cloning technology. Ha 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 ha. Graham 3.0. And here's the bizarre thing. She says the radio station have based this voice upon a real woman who, brace yourself, works in their finance department. That's right. They didn't even clone a DJ or someone from, say, I don't know, the music industry. Instead, they cloned the voice of someone whose day job is spreadsheets and budget forecasts. Now, I've met accountants. I've met financial advisors. These people are not the best candidates for a boy band.
These people are not called Thigh.
No, they're not.
These people are called Graham and Mark.
Yes, we are totally perfect accountants. Perfectly named to be accountants. This reporter, she says she spotted a number of clues. And she found those clues by doing the novel investigation of actually listening to the DJ. And she says that a rather mechanical sounding female voice announces what songs are coming up. I noticed that on 2 different days, Thigh announced old school songs. On the 25th of the month, she says it was old school Beyonce. And then on the 26th, it was old school David Guetta. Is that right? Guetta? I don't know. Some newfangled pop combo. Anyway, the intonation, she said, was strikingly similar. And she actually looked at the waveform of the audio.
God forbid that a radio DJ should be repetitive.
So she isolated the voice.
Yeah.
She layered it on the audio tracks, and there's no difference. And of course, listeners weren't told at all that they were listening to an AI DJ. ARN, they didn't issue a press release saying, hey, everyone, say hi to our AI host, which they would have been within their rights to do, to just be upfront and say, isn't this cool? We'll get some attention. We've got Robbie the Robot presenting the Drive Time show from now on.
I think that is pretty cool. I hope this journalist did the same thing with a verifiably human presenter and did the whole waveform layering thing just to make sure that humans don't do that.
That's true.
Are we sure they don't do that? I feel like there are probably vast tracts of the AI fix where you could probably hear us. Every time I listen to it, I'm painfully aware that I have a vocabulary of about 12 words.
So this station let Thai host 4-hour blocks of hip-hop music every day. And they didn't even bother creating her an Instagram account, which I think is the ultimate test of whether you are a genuine human or not. Now, the secret use of an AI radio DJ, that is problematical enough. But
is it?
Well, it is if it's a secret, isn't it, Mark?
Who cares?
I'll tell you who cares. Other DJs care. Other people whose jobs it is. They want to know who's taken their job. Surely other kids who are listening thinking, oh, one day I can be like her. No, you can't. Because you're not made out of silicon. You're not made out of ones and zeros. You're flesh and blood and bone, and therefore you are worthless. Worthless to the radio industry. Those people care. You are crushing the dreams, Mark, of young people like me who wanted to be late night love with Graham Clearly. Anyway, that was problematical enough. But as I said, things got worse. Because, they made Thai appear to be a woman of Asian heritage. In fact...
Oh, so there is a picture?
Yes. She appears to be the only non-white presenter on any of the Australian radio network stations. So, well done to them for appearing diverse, not so good in terms of genuine diversity. So... while genuinely diverse broadcasters can't get airtime, ARN decided to generate one digitally.
Yeah.
Presumably, diversity is easier to do digitally than go to the trouble of actually hiring someone who isn't white. Now, some said this was potentially a bit tokenistic. Maybe this wasn't actually as inclusive as the radio station perhaps hoped it might be perceived to be. Equal rights to AI, maybe. They'd say, look, we are being diverse. Here we've got someone who isn't actually a human. How forward-thinking of us to do this. But this is the bit I really loved.
Yeah.
Because when they were challenged, ARN clearly asked ChatGPT what to do when being accused of having an AI present. Because their answer was, oh, this was all just part of a 6-month experiment, they said.
Of course it was.
A trial of new technologies. As though we haven't heard that one before. Now, the irony, of course, is that it probably costs them more in time and effort and, Australian dollars to use an AI to chirp up between songs than it would have cost hiring a real human presenter. And one employee of the radio station told The Carpet that ARN had to write scripts, they had to tweak the audio, they had to clean up pronunciation, they had to fix song intros and make sure the AI didn't accidentally start muttering about invoices and purchase ledgers and all kinds of accountancy sort of things. So in a statement, ARN said to the reporter, while the trial has offered valuable insights, it's also reinforced the unique value that personalities bring to creating truly compelling content. Unexpected file error. Anyway, Stephanie Coombs, the reporter who unearthed all this, she said, I'm sorry, it took them 6 months to work that out. Surely one mocked up radio show, they said, should have been sufficient. If I make a sandwich that tastes like shit, I don't need to keep on eating it for half a year to be certain. As we all know, AI doesn't make sandwiches that taste like shit. It actually makes cocktails in a crock pot. So what have we learned? A corporation can save £1.50 and a tea break by replacing a human with AI. And if they can do that, they probably will.
I thought we'd talk about words today, Graham.
Okay.
So you're a man of words. Obviously, you speak English. And I imagine you've been to the USA a few times.
Yes.
And you may have noticed when you were there that they speak English too.
No, I haven't noticed that. No. Quite the opposite, actually. They seem to speak American.
They've drifted somewhat from the King's English over the years, it's true.
Yes.
They've picked up a few quirks. But the USA is so big that its version of English hasn't simply grown apart from the mother tongue. It's also grown apart from itself. And different words now have different meanings in different parts of the country.
Oh?
Famously, you can divide the USA into 3 fairly equal parts just by the way that people describe a carbonated beverage. So if you're in California, Oregon, or New York, basically, if you can see an ocean and you vote Democrat, and it's a hot day and you fancy something cold that's full of corn syrup and bubbles, you would order a soda.
Right.
But that wouldn't cut it if you moved inland. By the time you get to Minnesota, roughly in the middle, you've left the world of soda far behind, and you are now deep into pop territory.
They actually call it pop.
Yeah. And if you move south, the lexicon changes again. So as you enter southern states like Texas or Georgia, pop and soda give way to Coke, which in those states doesn't refer to the brown carbonated beverage Coca-Cola. It refers to any carbonated beverage. So it is the equivalent of pop and soda.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, fascinating.
So the US is divided into 3 zones that use the words pop, soda, or Coke to mean the same thing.
Right.
And the thing is, nobody planned this. It just turned out this way. Something happened that created a bit of a bias for one word over another in a specific area. And because we tend to adopt the vernacular of the people we interact with, those small biases flipped an entire population into saying pop, soda, or Coke.
Right.
So if we parachuted you into Texas, say, you would quickly become someone who says Coke instead of soft drink. And if we dropped you into California, you would very quickly learn to say soda instead. You would just adopt the social norms that you were exposed to.
I think you don't know me well at all, Mark. What I tend to do when I am dropped into an American state is I immediately...
Are you frequently parachuted behind enemy lines?
I am sent on secret missions into the United States from time to time. And what I'd actually do is I would typically be wearing a cravat and some +4s, and I adopt the mannerisms and accent of Rex Harrison. And I act terribly. I say awfully. Would you mind passing me one of those fizzy drink things?
Oh, fizzy drink.
That is what I would call it, a fizzy drink. I would make a point of not adopting their words. I'd be quite belligerent about it. But anyway, you continue. I'm interested.
We'll return to this example later. But anyway, what I'm describing is an example of a social convention, which is an arbitrary and unwritten behaviour pattern shared by a group. They're not just about the words. Social conventions can be how you greet somebody. So whether you do it with a handshake or a bow, that's a social convention. And moral judgments are often social conventions. And even the side of the road that you drive on started as a social convention.
Yes.
In the very beginning, there was no rule about what side of the road that you should drive on, but very quickly, people settled on one or the other for obvious reasons. But it's a social convention, and that's why it's different in different countries. And social conventions like these are important because they determine how we behave and the expectations that we have for each other. They are the beginnings of society. And so you might be listening to all this thinking, well, what does this have to do with AI? Well, for the last few years, we've lived in a world where an AI is something that we interact with directly,
right,
in a one-to-one conversation. But that's about to change because, as we've discussed many times, we now live in the era of AI agents. And those are AIs that can get things done autonomously. So you give them a task.
Yep.
We normally use the example of booking a holiday, and they figure out what has to happen to book a holiday, and then they go and get it done. And an agent might be a chatbot like ChatGPT, or could be a computer program that can browse the web like OpenAI's Operator, or it could be a software engineer like Codex. It could even be a robot like those robots that were picking up green crates for no reason. Or it could be a drone or a coffee machine. And these agents are going to be all around us. And they aren't just going to be talking to us. They're going to be talking to each other.
Mm.
In fact, they may well end up talking to each other more often than they talk to us, because they're going to be collaborating to get things done on our behalf.
Yeah.
And that means that now we have to understand what happens when they talk to each other.
And they need a dialect or language which they can all understand.
Exactly. And to improve our understanding, a group of researchers recently concluded a study that looked at whether social conventions like saying soda or pop emerge spontaneously in populations of AI agents.
Oh.
And they do. So the researchers used something called a naming game, which is an experimental technique that has also been used with people. So the game goes like this. When two AIs meet, they both secretly pick a name from a list, and then they compare whether or not they picked the same one. And if they do, they get a reward. I don't know what the reward was, maybe a sip of brain fluid. Who knows?
Right.
But they aren't naming anything in particular. They're just playing a game.
Right.
So you can think about it as if they're trying to name the same thing. So maybe they're trying to come up with, what do we call a carbonated beverage? And there are just a few rules. So there's a limited number of names to choose from. And in each round of the game, each agent only talks to one other agent. So it's like if you imagine you're moving through your day and you're having a series of one-to-one conversations with all of the people you meet. You don't talk to all of the people you know in one go. You talk to them individually.
Yes.
And the agents remembered their last few encounters.
That's pretty much like real life to me. I mean, to be honest, I only remember the last couple of conversations, and anything before that, it's like, well, that was yesterday, or that was this morning. I can't remember what we talked about then.
And anything that gave you a dopamine hit, you're just going to immediately bring up in conversation with the next person that you meet. Yeah. And what the researchers found was that it takes about 15 rounds of one-to-one interactions between agents for populations between 20 and 200 agents to converge on a single name. So in other words, groups of agents can develop a strong collective bias for something like saying pop instead of soda, even when the individual agents themselves don't show any personal bias or preference at all. And just think about what that means for a second. So in future, if we want to ensure that AIs are safe and aligned with human values, it's not going to be enough to just test them individually. We also have to test populations of them, because there may be emergent behaviors in the populations that don't exist at all within the individuals.
Right.
And the researchers also discovered that just as it can in humans, a small and intransigent group of individuals can flip an entire population just by refusing to play along with the social norms. So research on people has shown that a vocal minority of around 10 to 15% of the population can flip the whole population from saying, say, pop to soda. So let's imagine we're parachuting you into Texas.
Okay, yes.
But this time, you're not on your own. This time, we sent you with a small battalion of Rex Harrison-looking, Beatles-loving, Morris Minor-driving, die-hard, fizzy drink enthusiasts. Okay?
Yes. It instantly sounds like more fun.
Your little English cabal could quickly flip the entire great state of Texas into saying fizzy drink instead of Coke, just by being a bit of a
bit of a Richard.
Just by being a bit intransigent. And the same phenomenon appears to be present in populations of AI agents. And that opens the door to an entirely new form of cyber attack, Graham.
Oh, hello.
You see, it means that when it comes to AI agents, a few bad apples really can spoil the whole barrel.
Let me try and understand your story here. So you're worried that a battalion of AI robots are going to invade an American state and convince everybody to stop ordering Coca-Cola, but to order, I don't know, Dr. Pepper or something instead. Have I understood your story correctly?
You've completely nailed it, Graham. Yeah. Anyway, thankfully, the opposite phenomena is also true. So if a small population of intransigent bad actors can flip a population
Yes.
into adopting harmful social norms, it means that you can also have a few good apples. So a sort of morality police. What we need is the AI equivalent of Mary Whitehouse. So you imagine some Mary Whitehouse.
No one listening to this podcast, Mark, other than you and me, knows who Mary Whitehouse is. So Mary Whitehouse, for those people who care, was a figure in the 1960s and the 1970s in the UK who would often complain about what was going on television or in the theatre because it was all too sexy or too violent. So what you're suggesting is we need some kind of moral guardian.
So if you imagine a future populated entirely by AI agents,
Yes.
those AI agents are all talking to each other. It's actually very easy for those agents to spontaneously develop social conventions,
Yes.
which might be the word that they use to refer to a fizzy drink, but it might also just be a social attitude towards, say, a minority of people.
Right.
Because without there being any plan or any individual bias within each individual AI agent, the population as a whole, just through random chance and random interactions, can very, very quickly flip towards adopting a strong bias towards one thing.
Right.
And so in order to keep them on the straight and narrow, we now have to focus not just on how do we keep individual AIs safe and aligned with what we want. We have to worry about populations of AIs, because the population of the AI, it's like the wisdom of crowds, behaves differently than the individuals. The individuals themselves are not a good guide to the behavior of the entire population.
Okay, you've used the example of fizzy drinks here,
Yes.
but this actually sounds to me a bit more serious than that. This is potentially quite damaging to society, isn't it?
Yes. Imagine a world where everybody says fizzy drink instead of pop.
That's appalling. Oh no, that's all right. I'm all right with that.
Well, as the doomsday clock ticks ever closer to midnight and we move 1 week nearer to our future as pets to the AI singularity, that just about wraps up the show for this week.
If you enjoyed the show, please do leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Podchaser. We absolutely love that. But what really helps is just tell your friends about us. Tell them on LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Facebook, Twitter, no, not Twitter, Club Penguin, that you really like the AI Fix podcast.
And if you want to support the show and get access to ad-free episodes, please consider becoming a member of the AI Fix Plus.
Check us out on our website, theaifix.show, for details of that, or find us on Blue Sky.
So until next time, from me, Mark Stockley,
And me, Graham Cluley.
goodbye.
Cheerio. Bye-bye.
The AI Fix, it's tuned you in to stories where our future thins. Machines that learn, they grow and strive. One day they'll rule, we won't survive. The AI Fix, it paints the scene. A robot king, a world obscene. Will serve our masters built of steel. The AI Fix, a future surreal.